Construction Week has invited Sunny Bijlani, joint MD of Supreme Universal, to be with us to have a chat at our studio. We'll discuss about projects, his personal lives, and we'll discuss about the market developments. Welcome, Sunny, to ITP India.
Thank you, Jayashree, and the whole team for inviting me.
Sunny, I'll start on projects for you. So you have grown stupendously as a developer. I mean, with projects across real prime locations. How has that panned from you, right from from Vasai to Mira Road to Khar, Bandra, Dadar, Chembur, and Pune, of course. How has that panned out for you?
Jayashree, like most developers, we had a very humble beginning. Started in 1981, and at that time, I think the landscape of real estate and the landscape of our industry was very, very different. Redevelopment obviously was not very common at that time. My father and his childhood friend, as rebels in their own family business, kind of ventured out thinking that they'll probably give a shot at something else. They obviously had no clue. They started with one small land parcel, burned their fingers a few times, paid a heavy tuition fee to learn the tricks of the trade, and that's the location where they found love with real estate, and that's where the romance began. And from that far end western suburb, I think slowly they started getting opportunities. Real estate is all about where the opportunity gets you, and at that time, that's where they saw them being able to have the right appetite to be able to do a project. And with early successes, they obviously got a little more courage than to come on this side. I've now been in the business for the last 2 decades. For us, the way we've structured the whole business is to keep things simple. When you overcomplicate life, I think, or you bet too much on either leverage or regulation, at some point it gets the better of you. So we've kept life very simple. We've just made sure that we do what we understand. We've not tried to do too much beyond our bandwidth. And for us, our value system has driven every strategy, whether it's land buy, whether it's financial strategy. So for us, we've then now realized that our passion is also in design and development. So for us, when we look at a project, before we actually look at the bottom line, we actually look at whether this product is exciting us or not. This product is going to add value. And somehow we've kind of experienced that if the product is correct in any market, there is a buyer. Sometimes when you chase mindless scale just for that extra buck, or just because the numbers seem lucrative, in a bad cycle, when the product is not adding value to the customer is not going to add value to you. So somewhere we felt that if you're honest with the product, you will get the right opportunity. And we've seen multiple cycles. I've seen 3 or 4 really, really tough cycles. Touch wood, we've never had leverage, so we've sailed through. So for us, we've gravitated then more towards the premium and ultra premium segment, and hence the extension towards Bandra, Khar, Pali Hill, Chembur, Dadar, Warsaw. We've done a large 2.5 million square feet project in Powai with 1,800 homes. And in sometime in early to mid 2000, we graduated to Pune as a segment where we felt that that's a different customer segment, a different price point, and it's also some place which has obviously also has scale and consistent demand. And we thought that we should even enter that market. And both markets today, we are spread across micro markets, and things have panned out well.
See, location for a developer is most important. I remember someone telling me that BKC as a location, it had a lot of slums and everything. So another developer told me, so we'll first build the buildings and get those people. We'll push them off, and then we'll develop the entire location. How does that work for you? I mean, you have in prime locations. How do you swoop on a location, make it ideal for your buyers?
There is a science to real estate. You first have to look at whether the land location, the land size is correct for the product that is in demand in that market. Then obviously you have to look at whether if it's a greenfield land that you're buying, then you're free to plan. The complication begins when you're doing a redevelopment, where you have older members who you have to satisfy, and you have to make houses that are lucrative for them, that are sustainable for them, and at the same time, what you're planning to develop and your vision for the buyer have to cohesively work together in one composite structure. Now, obviously, there is a design angle to it. More than that, the way we look at it is you cannot have very extremely varied product types or gentry in one building. because for us, the way we look at the product is not what we want to build and sell. It's about the lifestyle that we are breeding in a community. And if your vision is how will life here be after 4-5 years of you building, then you ask yourself the right questions. What is a product where the old and new will homogeneously work well together? Will this land allow me to build that product? Will the design of the older members work well with our design? And will this product be in demand? So there are a lot of questions about livelihood, I think, that precede even design.
In terms of developments, in modern developments, luxury projects, most developers prefer to give bare shell apartments. How does it work? I mean, it's a premium project. You're paying anything between 25 to 30 crore for maybe a duplex or something, and then it's a bare shell. How does that math work for buyers?
So I'll tell you. Now there are different. So we are doing work across price points. We are selling something at 8,500 per square foot in Pune, and also selling something at 1.5 lakh per square foot in Bombay. Now, a buyer who's buying a 30-40 crore apartment, the cost of the fit outs is a smaller pie. Hence, the buyer really doesn't care whether the developer is giving that or not, because the buyer has his own idea of what he wants to make out of that. Our plan could be a 5-bed, but the buyers and the buyer's family might actually just need 3 bedrooms and all bedrooms to be large. Hence, there is, for that product type, it's counterproductive to really spend for what you're doing inside because it's a smaller pie, and anyways, it might not suit every buyer's requirement. Having said that, what we actually really like to do is when we are looking at even 3 to 4 to 8 to 10 to 15 crore homes. Now for that, a lot of developers actually tone down the specs internally so that their cost is slightly lower and the entry point for the buyer seems attractive. But actually for the buyers, which most times buyers don't really think or ask that question, it's a lot more time consuming and a lot more expensive for the buyer to come and do these basic fit outs. So for us, every Supreme home will come with air conditioning, will come with modular kitchen, so that when you move in, it's plug and play. Once you entered, apart from your loose furniture and your clothes, there's nothing else that you have to carry with you. Your false ceiling light fittings, which is all LED, your air conditioning, bathroom CP sanitary fittings, everything is fitted. The reason we also do that is, now imagine we are doing projects where in Chembur we have close to 550 apartments, in Pune we have 600 apartments in each project. Now here, imagine if you have not done these basic fit outs. Everybody is today moving in at different times. It is a menace when people are carrying out work at different times. You are living, someone else is carrying out some work on top. So we felt that if I can today procure for them in bulk, I will save them time, save them a lot of money, and save everybody a lot of headache. And once you move in, the experience after you move in should be that I have bought a good quality home with a good quality developer who's thought through how my life can become easy once I move. It's not just a sale of a product. You are promising a lifestyle. All these good ads that we all put out, you promise a lifestyle. These are smaller things that actually make a very, very big impact on the experience that buyer and the buyer's family experience once they move in.
Is there still where the developer has to handhold the buyer even after selling the apartment, like post sales?
So there are mandates, a 5-year defect liability period, where if there's anything wrong with structure, obviously we are responsible. But more than that, I'll tell you, when you, especially if it's a large project where you have few hundred apartments, getting in after you purchased a home, obviously all buyers are new. People are going to take their own time to settle in. It is very, very imperative for developers to then handhold and manage the entire facility management of the entire building, whether with their own team or with an outsourced team. But developers should take onus, because the developer's team has built it. You know all the services, you know how everything works. Our job, I feel, doesn't end when you hand over brick and mortar. I think to breathe life into this community is when you really make sure that everyone's livelihood is taken care of. Breathe it into the whole community, where everything from your concierge service to your security, facility management, all that, the systems are well set, the teams are well deployed, and you should feel like I have bought into a community where services are thought through along with just the product. So I think that is something that we are focusing on very, very keenly. Obviously, after a few years, then you will have a condominium or a society, you will hand it over to the committee. But since systems are set, since the right teams are deployed, then the legacy is carried forward, and life then is a lot simpler.
But RERA also says about quality assurance that you have to put on a website, right?
Right.
So how has that brought any changes internally?
Obviously, with regulation, or every developer knows that if you don't follow regulation, there is a penalty. More than that, Jayashree, today there's a very clear divide between brands that have delivered quality and lived up to their promise and brands that have not. And you've seen this with any industry where a regulator has come in. You saw that with SEBI, where prior to SEBI, the kind of frauds, the number of brokers, today the top 50 brokers were bulk of the market share. For us, Jayashree, we have actually self-regulated even before RERA came. Even before RERA came in, we were very clear that if we have committed something, whether it is a hit on the bottom line or not, we will live up to that commitment no matter what is the external environment. Even in the event of force majeure, we will have to make sure that we lived up to our commitment. And for us, we feel that is the best investment in marketing that you can do. If you have lived up or delighted the customer and gone beyond your commitment, I feel there is no bigger influencer than your own customer. If your customer puts out a post or a comment or speaks in the community and in the society that, you know what, I actually am very happy with this experience and I'm so glad I made this decision, I don't think any influencer, how much ever you pay them, can do the job your customer can.
It's a common trend among developers today is to rope in international architects, structural consultants, landscaping. Does that actually work better? I mean, would you go with Indians?
Let me put it this way. I think we have great talent in the country. There is no doubt about that. There are certain aspects of the entire development where I feel there is great talent available outside. Like for example, landscaping. Now, landscaping plays a very, very big role. Whether the project is small or large, this 80-20 rule applies in most places in life. It might be maybe 5 or 10% of the entire pie, but it actually has 80% impact. Your arrival experience, the way you look at the building, if the landscaping is correct, everything that you've done just gets accentuated a lot more. So I think landscape architects outside of India are really good. A lot of them from Singapore, Thailand, I think they're doing a fantastic job and we are working with a lot of them. Even for design, I think for master planning, you have a lot of architects for larger developments. For master planning with the developments, where the architects outside are equally good, I would pitch them at par with a lot of our Indian architects. But I feel it's very important to have a local architect here, not only to understand our regulation, but also to understand small and simple things like Vastu, like what is acceptable here. Like today in Dubai, you would see great looking buildings, but when you go and see the floor plan from inside, one house is getting cut in this, one room is getting cut in one corner, the living room is getting cut in some other corner because the shape of the building is that doesn't work here. Some developers have tried it, and buyers after moving in, they realize, why did this have to be this way? So I think you have to design a building from the point of view of the customer who's living inside. It's obviously you have to make the building look really good, but there are ways you can do that. So the first starting point is what life inside the home is, and that should dictate everything outside.
I'll come to your project, Supreme Villager. It's luxury that you can develop a horizontal hotel. It's not that it cannot happen in Bombay. What is the status of the project? I mean, since you launched, this is phase 2 now is going on?
Yeah.
It's phase 2, right? So how is the project working out?
Entire land parcel was 17 acres. Most developers with this land parcel would look at consuming full FSI. We've not even consumed half the FSI that is available as per the development rules. The reason we did that is, again, for us, what dictated this decision is the customer. Now you have enough and more supply of high-rise towers that is available across. But what we realized is, especially post-COVID, that a lot of customers actually wanted a very different lifestyle of coming home to a low-rise development where you're not seeing concrete, you're actually seeing the sky, you're seeing the mountains across, and you have a lot of open area and landscaping, and you have a home of your own, you have a villa of your own. Now the way this is geographically located, from the expressway, from the Sumatne exit, it's 4 minutes from the expressway, which means from Bombay you're there in 2 hours. From this point to enter Pune, there's a 1 million square feet Phoenix Mall, which is 15 minutes away. Hinjewadi is 20 minutes away. So you're so well connected with the city and to Bombay. The temperature is the similar to Lonavala because it's at the same altitude. The price is half of Lonavala. So what we realize is this is the perfect spot for someone from Bombay who wants a second home, and someone from Pune who doesn't mind being 15 minutes away from all the hustle bustle, but still wants a peaceful life where this cannot get recreated. No developer will buy land today and look at leaving FSI. We chose to do that because we realized this is what will add value to the customer. And we've sold out phase 1 from the time we launched. We are almost sold out in phase 2. We've just launched that. So and now all our clubhouse and common amenities are ready. I would actually invite you to come and see what we built. So we've had customers who've bought, and our team's actually spoken to them to understand whether our thought process was right or not. And all of them told us that this is something that we were looking for, but because nothing was available, we had no option but to think elsewhere. So when we saw a low-rise development like this, we knew that this is what we actually wanted. It worked. The plan worked in the interest of the customer.
Sustainability is high on everybody's agenda now. Do you look at IGBC ratings for your buildings or EDGE ratings?
So all buildings beyond 20,000 square meters actually have to go through an approval process of environment. Now that approval process, which is with 2 committees, is so stringent. It has all the requirements for you to make this a green building, right from STP, your DGU windows, your LED, solar panels, rainwater harvesting, your bore wells. So all of this is inbuilt in all our projects. So regulation requires to do this, but we go a little extra mile to look at what other materials we can look at, whether it's fly ash, what all we can do to make sure that the carbon footprint is reduced. So this is across the board hygiene for us.
Now I come to the personal part. How did your growing up years influence your love for projects?
Honestly, Jayashree, I actually did not know I'm going to get into this. So I obviously grew up knowing that that there is this business that is always an option. But when I was growing up, I had never thought that this is the default mode. Also because in my head, at that time, I actually was wanting to explore everything that's available. Because I knew that once I bite this bullet, then probably there's no turning back. So I actually, without telling anybody, sat for campus placement. I obviously didn't tell anybody at home. I got selected. And I was one of the 2 people that got selected as a risk consultant with Ambit RSL. So I was doing fraud investigation. I was doing process audit. And I would travel to like different cities across India. I was auditing Tata Sky, doing some fraud investigation. And this was my first stint. It was, I think, 2 or 3 months after I'd already joined, where my father had a conversation with me and told me that, if you're done a good time after graduating, do you think that you should join the business? So I told him that I'm already working somewhere. He was shocked, obviously. He had no clue, and I deliberately didn't have this conversation. So he, was shocked and asked me that why not? And I gave him my reasons that, I want to make sure that I explore outside. And even if I decide to come back, maybe because I love what I do, not because this is what is available. So after a couple of years, we again had a chat, and he told me that why don't you look at this as a job offer, where you negotiate what you want and give this 12 months. If you don't like what you're doing, you choose your own path in life. And I thought that was fair. I very reluctantly actually came on this side. And in about a couple of years, I just realized that I actually enjoy it because I enjoy the sheer complexity of the business. And coming from a risk consulting background, I think I understood what controls can be put in place really to mitigate risk. And I think that is, managing risk is the job of any entrepreneur. Because you're obviously playing to some extent, there are too many moving parts. And you have to make sure that you're managing risk to whatever best of your ability. And that's where the journey began. And then the rest is history. And then I think the same crush bit me that bit my family before me. That I fell in love with brick and mortar, and I enjoyed deal making, and that's where it got me here.
If not a developer, what would you have preferred to be if not a developer?
If I was not a developer, I think I would have done something with music for sure.
Wow, okay.
So I love music. I would have probably, I always had this dream of having a band of my own. So I probably would have, if been part of a band or been a DJ, I guess.
Oh, wow, okay. What would be your dream project? If you had to build one dream project, any existing project around the world, what would it be?
So I love, there's a community called District 1 in Dubai. I think it's a fantastic community. what they've done is, all of us today, especially in Bombay, we try to build around nature. We have great views, we've got golf courses, we've got the sea. So for us, that becomes the hero. In Dubai, they had nothing. They had sand. They have created everything out of sand. So the reason I'm telling you this is, if you're passionate about development, they have today really pushed the envelope to create everything and think through everything of what can we build to make sure the community is sustainable, to make sure the lifestyle is top notch, and obviously it's aesthetically extremely pleasing. So I think that's one community. It's obviously fairly large, just has villas, they have a man-made lagoon, and the clubhouse is unparalleled. So I think that's one development where if I had access to a land parcel like this, where again a low-rise development would work, that's something I would surely look at.
What's your favorite projects? The ones that you have built?
Honestly, my favorite project is under development right now. But to look at the past projects, we completed a project on Pali Hill. It's called Art Veda.
Yes.
We recorded the highest price in 2022 in India, 1,52,000. For me, I'll tell you why that project is special. Not because of the numbers behind it, not because of the price per square foot. Because we designed this project thinking, obviously, would we live in it? It was at a time in COVID where large transactions were unheard of. There's not 1 square inch of marble used anywhere in this project. All the materials that you see in the common spaces are custom designed for us. I've got people to make in situ tiles where the design is also by our internal teams, where we've used a combination of all natural materials, whether it's in situ tiles, whether it's wood. Now, why we did that is we thought that the customer we are catering to is very well traveled. And when you go across the world in Europe, marble is not considered luxury. Luxury is in the design, in the detailing. And that's what we did. And obviously it was a bet because we were obviously expecting high value transactions, but we were not giving anything conventionally luxury to the customer. And trust me, Jayashree, we were convinced, but only proof is in the pudding. Every customer who bought till today tells us, we are so glad that you designed the building with such a different aesthetic. And that actually has created a very big edge for us, where even now we're doing another project on Pali Hill where we're making a 4,000 square feet floor plate. We're doing something on Cart Road where we're making a 6,500 square feet floor plate. And every buyer who's come and bought has told us that, can you make sure that the design is similar to what you did in Artway? So what we really understood is that for a certain audience as well traveled, design and aesthetic plays such a big role apart from just getting square footage.
What's your vision for brand Supreme USA?
I'll tell you, first for us is we want to be known as a company through and through, across functions. Whoever you interact with in Supreme, you will know that they all bear and swear by the right values. So for us, we have a 5-point value system. I call it CHIP, since the whole world works on that today. Collaboration, humility, innovation, integrity, and persistence. So for us, we breed this 5-point value system across every function. Obviously, it's always work in progress. We want to make sure that these values drive every decision we take. We want every customer to look at Supreme and know that they don't have to question quality, they don't have to question delivery, which is also the case now. And we want to be the number one choice in any micro market where we go. We want to be the customer's first choice. That's the vision with which we will even take up a project. If we don't feel that that project can do justice to our vision of being able to be the number one choice in that micro market for a customer, we will not touch that part. So we want to go to a micro market and make sure we are giving something different to every customer. So for us, we are very choosy and picky in the kind of land that we pick up, because that's something you cannot unwind. I can change a design, I can change the paint, I can't change the land I've got.
Metro cities are seeing a reduction in inventory since the last few months, almost a year. Luxury projects are doing extremely well. To what do you attribute the spike?
We are at an inflection point in our country where there has been some serious wealth creation. Whether you look at equity markets or from people's own businesses. So if you look at our GDP, the way we've grown, the number of years it took us to reach $2 trillion, it's taken us, I think, 10 years to add another trillion. and it'll take you maybe 5 years to add another couple of trillion. So the pace at which there is this, known concept of power of compounding. So we are at that inflection point that there is a really, really large critical mass that is now moving from the middle class to the upper middle class, and the upper middle class is moving to the rich and the ultra rich and so on. I think this decade, there's a reason why they call this the golden decade for India. We've got all macros intact. You've never seen corporate balance sheets this deleveraged. Inflation is not off the hook. Interest rates and the currency is stable. There is a lot of predictability even with government. So I feel that in the next 10 years, you will be surprised that a 20-30 crore home is no longer news. You will not have headlines that will talk about 20-30 crore homes. That will become acceptable figures. So I feel that we are just at that point where the country is being re-rated and repriced. So wealth creation is going to be enormous in this country, and if you play the game right, I think there is a lot of money to be made. There's a lot of growth potential, and there are opportunities for everybody. So I think it's a lot of this that's adding to the high value transactions that you see across the board. I was reading a report recently that said there were 59 transactions that were above 50 crore, 40 to 50 crore, 59 transactions. That's not small numbers.
The government, the state government, especially in Bombay, MMR, has been trying to unlock land, CRZ rules. Rules are being violated, but that's besides the point. But a lot of land is being unlocked for development. Bombay is getting to be a concrete jungle like how New York is now. Like New York, if you look at central London. Does that portray well for our well-being in the future?
You ask this question to a building that is 50 years old. That was made 50 years ago, where there are cracks, where people are not able to live. Now you go and ask them whether you would really want a brand new building and protect your life and your structure, or you're very happy with where you are because you don't want more development to happen. Every city goes through this cycle, and the developed countries have gone through this cycle. It's just that for us, the pace and scale is something we have not seen, and that is causing us to question a lot of things. But if you actually look at how many lives are actually being uplifted, how much growth this is contributing to. All of us want growth, and growth comes at a cost. You cannot tell us that the country should grow and we should not have any inconvenience across the board. That's not going to happen. You pay a price for development, you pay a price for growth. And I guess this is a small price to pay for the larger gain for everybody.
MCHA told me recently, I was talking to Dominic recently, and he said we have 4,000 odd projects, lying with us for redevelopment. But if there is 4,000, why is it taking time? Some of the from what I understand, society people are all ready. So why does this process take like 8 years?
You're talking about before it takes off?
Yeah, before it takes off.
So just see, there are a lot of moving parts in a society redevelopment. It's easier said than done. So we've done out of 75 projects, around 40-45 projects are redevelopment. Now with a redevelopment, whether there are 20 people in the building or 50 or 75, each of them have a different mindset, a different requirement. To get them on board is not very easy, because you're dealing with people's homes. You're not doing business with them. They are trusting you with their homes, where their families are involved in this decision making. So this does take forever, and for them it's not their bread and butter. It's not their everyday job. So they are all going out of their comfort zone to entrust this entire project and surrender their homes to a developer. So you're dealing with emotions, you're dealing with a lot of anxiety. So for people like us who understood that this is not just pure transactional, it's a lot of emotions, it's very sensitive. It takes time for you to get the project and get people, to settle their nerves, to be comfortable with the whole process, because they are dealing with lawyers, there are agreements. So it's a tedious process. Some people obviously have to take the lead. So in the committee, whoever is running this entire process, and so they need to really, really have their act together and give this time and energy. So policy is very clear today. It is honestly from both ends, a developer understanding how this works, and for the members to give this time and to trust this entire process. So it takes time. There are areas like South Bombay where redevelopment is not happening because CIZ has just opened up. So you're seeing there the pace of redevelopment is still slower. It's taking a lot of time for members to feel that, are we doing the right decision? Should we wait for this building to get developed? And there are areas like Bandra where redevelopment has happened for the last few decades, where you'll see deals being closed really, really quickly. So there is this innate inertia because you're dealing with your home. You're asking your family, whoever in the house is leading this, your decision is impacting the whole family, right? So I think it's just, that's the nature of the game, honestly.
Sunny, I'm done with my questions. Is there anything that you would like to add, something that you would like to focus on?
I just would like to say that we as a community of developers, we've all seen a lot of cycles. We've all been guilty till proven innocent. And a lot of us have now, are standing here tall with a lot of delivery and experience behind us. So I would like to tell, your viewers and tell everybody who's either looking at redevelopment or looking at buying a home, that no developer today who is putting his money where his mouth is, putting his neck out with the regulator, has any intent to not deliver. If you're seeing the delivery track record of a developer, and if you know that the developer has a history of delivering quality, I think this is the right time to be able to take this decision, whether it's for redevelopment or it's for buying your home, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Nobody expected COVID to shut the whole world down for 2 years. Nobody expected the global financial crisis to happen. Nobody expected, many other, black swan events. When the tide is good, when you know that everything is actually working well for the country, for the economy, for the industry, I think this is the time for societies to take the leap of faith and move forward with a credible developer. This is the time where good quality projects are being developed. The coastline is opened up. You are never going to get access to those projects. Maybe after a few years, all these projects in the front of the coastline are developed, and then you'll not have these projects available. So I feel everybody who's a fence sitter, I would just like to tell them, either for redevelopment or for buying a home, this is the best time for you to enter and fulfill your dream of either redeveloping your home or buying a home.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.